Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Bored and Annoyed. I'm Jackson.
And I am home at the movies.
And Alex and I just got back from Aquatrash.
I felt the rains. Down in Africa.
Yep.
Right. That's my singing. Ready, be ready. It's going to be awesome. Bored and Annoyed.
Yeah, well, anyways, we figured we'd record a quick episode since we just went and saw this. It's terrible.
Yeah, it was bad.
Don't believe the hype.
Yeah, currently it's at 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't see any way that this is not going down.
Well, yeah, but the buzz was pretty good. Like, you had the social media reactions that were, I don't know what those people watched.
I don't get it.
We're going to try and keep this spoiler free.
We won't try. It will be spoiler.
It will be spoiler free. We're not live, so that's one of the benefits.
Yep.
And then we're going to give our spoiler review on next week's episode.
Absolutely.
But I mean, what's your biggest problem with the movie?
I think that it doesn't have a relatable main character with a good, clear arc. And I guess if I'm going to boil it down, it's probably the script. The script is all over the place. It has so much exposition. It just jumps from spot to spot to spot. A lot of the characters are really, really thin. It's one of the thinnest main villains I've seen in a while. And there's a side villain that is completely and utterly unnecessary.
He's completely pointless, yeah.
So, yeah, I think...
And that side villain, I mean, people have seen the previews. It's the Black Manta character.
Yes.
I don't know what he was doing in the movie.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I guess his purpose would be there's like kind of a moment relating to him with Aquaman where Aquaman kind of questions a previous decision he had made.
Yeah.
I guess that's the...
But thematically, it's irrelevant.
What is the theme of this?
If you're biracial, you're the best. You can be the king. Is that what it is?
By species or whatever.
Bi-species?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what the message is.
Discovering who you are or something.
Take responsibility.
I think one of the main problems they have is you've already established this character in Justice League, and it was like, that's Aquaman. He's kind of figured out who he is.
Yes.
I mean, that was kind of how I felt, Yeah. And then you're reintroducing him in this movie, and... By the way, if you were expecting like a real character who's not just like surfer dude one-liner spitting asshole, no, it's the same. It's the same guy.
Yeah, no, he's got some of the worst one-liners that I've heard in a while. Like, not clever at all.
That's his character.
Yeah,
that's like the whole character. Like, right. Aquaman shows up, he looks at the camera, winks at the camera, and says something like, "Welcome aboard."
Yeah,
like.
Permission to come aboard. That's in the trailers. No spoilers. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it takes me back. I know that I always do this, but it takes me back to like Thor Ragnarok, where you've got a character, like you're saying, it's the character. Thor is dumb in that movie, but his one-liners are hilarious.
Yeah, they're not like every single scene though. Like he's got something else going on.
Right.
There's conversations he has where he's getting smarter.
Right.
Well,
and technically Aquaman has other things going on in this. It's just that it's so hollow because it takes forever for it to even find what its main goal is as a movie.
Yes.
It's so choppy and meandering.
Well, it's very choppy. The way they did exposition in this, where it's like, yes, I remember having this conversation, and then like a neat little camera thing happens, and it goes to the past when Aquaman's like a kid or whatever, and then he has the conversation with whatever character. That's kind of how this one.
Yeah.
Man of Steel kind of did that too.
Right.
But Man of Steel, like, it didn't feel like Diane Lane or Kevin Costner were just like reading off of a piece of paper. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like they were actual like character moments.
Yes.
And I guess, and it's funny that they chose this way to do it.
Yeah.
Because like Wonder Woman just had it as like a narrative structure that was normal, where you start with her on the island and she grows up. Like the only thing I can think of for them not doing it this way or that way in this is that they fucked themselves by making Justice League and putting him in the movie.
Exactly. That's the only reason, is because they're like, oh, well, we already know he went off on this mission. We don't really want to have to deal with that in our story.
Right.
So I guess we're forced to do this sort of, jumping around through time, but it doesn't work because I don't know why Aquaman fights crime or sea crime in the current time.
Well, especially since the whole point of this movie at the beginning is like, they're not his people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he has no reason for doing what he's doing. And then in this, his reason for getting involved in what's going on in the main plot is so thin.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't think he has any like real sort of arc. Like they pay, I've said it before about shitty movies, they pay arcs lip service, but they don't actually get you emotionally invested.
No, not at all.
There's no catharsis here. You don't feel anything.
Right.
Actually, that's
agree.
not true. They bookend this with
Another story.
Another story.
That's
and
more interesting.
That's better.
Yeah, I would
it's
agree.
It's a better story, but it's also given like
Yeah.
5-10 minutes of screen time.
And it's super cheesy.
Yes.
And like it's predictable. The whole movie is predictable.
This is melodramatic as fuck. People like when they like it's the literal like turn to the camera,
Yes.
slow zoom in, and then somebody says, "Call me Dutch boy,"
Yeah.
something stupid. And it's like, really? There was a slow motion shot at the beginning of this that you and I both looked at each other like,
Oh my God. Yeah.
what?
The first scene.
Yes.
Yeah. It was like, oh my, this is going to be terrible.
It reminds me of Venom in a lot of ways because this has multiple prologues at the beginning.
Honestly, I think, and we talked about this a bit afterwards because, we were going spoiler free here.
Yeah.
So we had to rail on this movie.
Yeah.
But I think what you said that is true is this is like a smidge better than Venom just because there's more fun stuff to look at.
Yes.
I don't think the story or anything was that much better. I don't
know.
like
It's a cookie cutter story.
Yeah.
And it's not executed well.
No, it's terrible.
I mean, you can do cookie cutter, that's fine, but you got to do it well. This isn't done well.
No. I would 100% agree.
I think the editing was kind of weird. There was a specific shot that was I guess this is cinematography, but there was a shot that was a 2-shot that probably should have been a single so I could have focused on one character's reaction. That was a poor... And that's the thing about this is I noticed as we were watching it, the humor stopped landing with people after the first 15, 20
nobody
minutes.
was laughing at this.
Yeah.
Nobody was... And that's bad. That's bad when that is every scene of your movie. Every single like emotional point or when you're supposed to like learn something about the story is undercut immediately by like a one-liner joke that isn't funny.
Yeah.
That doesn't even relate to the
one-liners are just the worst. It's a lot of Jason Momoa going, "Huh, I'm dumb." Isn't that funny?
Right. Yeah. No, all the humor is based around how he's dumb.
Yeah.
And like he knows he's dumb.
And I'm going to get on my little pedestal here for a second. I'm so tired of this, like, they're doing this thing with female characters nowadays, which is they're the uptight, they can't have fun, they're the serious one to the males, ridiculousness. And I'm just so tired of it because it's just so boring.
That's kind of my relationship.
but she just doesn't have a personality.
I liked her better than him.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too, but I'm just so tired of seeing it because that's kind of
Right.
what Gamora is. That's kind of what like Wasp is.
Sure.
And I'm just sort of, it's like women,
That is what Wasp is. You're totally right. Yeah.
And it's like women can be goofy and fun and have the one-liners and be silly. Like we can have that. We don't need to make them the serious
Isn't
badass.
that funny? It's like a backfiring of like the whole like women hero thing because
Yes.
now they probably feel like, oh, we don't really want to do that.
Well, that's why I liked Valkyrie so much. Is you had a lot of fun.
She was like a quippy
She was quippy. You could laugh at her a little bit because she did some silly things, But she was also, a kick-ass badass,
right.
That's not what this one is.
Now just the performances in this. You've got Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Who is, I love Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
This might have been the weakest thing I've seen him in, or the weakest he's been in something that I can remember.
He's given nothing to work with, though.
Right. He's supposed to be like a mentor character.
Yep.
Who kind of is like Aquaman's, mentor.
It's so awful.
Oh,
'Cause it's
it
like,
was.
It's literally like, here's your mentor character, here's the parent's character, here's the love interest,
Right.
here's the rival evil villain that's a brother or whatever.
Yeah, he was, and it's not his fault. He just had nothing to work with, and all literally the exposition in this. I'm not kidding. Is like they might as well be like looking at the camera and reading you.
Yep.
Like backstory.
Like pull up their phones and read off of Wikipedia what's going on at Atlantis.
Right. And now it also has Patrick Wilson is the villain.
Yes.
He is Aquaman's half brother.
Yep.
Again, I liked him better than Aquaman, but I didn't think he was great. And I was upset because I was actually excited to see him in a role like this. And I know him and James Wan from the Conjuring movies have like a relationship or whatever.
Yeah. Patrick Wilson is he's okay in this, but like everybody else, the script lets everybody down.
Right. Right. And then the only other like notable, there's Nicole Kidman as Aquaman's mother.
Yep. This is fine.
And
I guess.
I guess
actually, no, I don't. I actually think she was not good. Actually,
no, she doesn't care about this.
Right.
Right. She's sitting there. She's doing a movie with Tamura Morrison, who played Django Fett. Like, this is not her sandbox.
Right.
She knows it too.
I actually do think that the beginning of the movie, their chemistry was some.
You thought it was okay.
I thought it was okay. Well, maybe I was on board with the movie at that time.
Well, you didn't know.
I didn't know, but. They were fine.
You knew pretty quick in the submarine scene following. Yes. That was when you just knew.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was actually I knew before that when Kid opens his eyes. That's when I was like, "Oh boy, we're in for a time here."
We'll get farther into that on this week's episode. But Amber Heard's the love interest. I actually thought she was okay, but to your point, you're kind of right. Like, she's a one-note character that's not given much fun stuff to do.
Yeah.
But I thought her performance was okay.
She was
and
fine.
Dolph Lundgren, I didn't realize he was in this. He might have been one of my favorite characters in the movie. Again, not much to do, so that's not saying much.
Yep.
It's funny, like, try to think, who's your favorite character in this?
I don't have a favorite.
Is it possible to even have one?
I don't have one because if I'm honest, I didn't like anyone in this.
Yeah, no, that's a problem.
I guess I liked Willem Dafoe the best.
Oh,
but that's because I like him.
Yeah.
It's nothing about the character.
He's cheating.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's cheating by being himself. I mean, the thing is I like Jason Momoa. I do. I think but the problem is that he's playing himself, and he has a pretty cool, relaxed, buddy. Like, he'd be a cool guy to hang out with. But he has no range.
So I think he'd be good in like a Fast and the Furious type movie.
Oh,
as
absolutely.
Like one of the cards. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where he's gonna. And I hate to say this because it sounds mean, but and maybe it's just this is what they wrote for him or envision the character this way. But I'm sorry, but this does not make for an interesting protagonist.
Yes,
a guy who's just a dummy who just like spouts one-liners.
Yep,
it's not interesting to me.
All my I'm not much of a DC fan, but all my comic fans will understand this when I say he's not Aquaman.
Okay.
He's Lobo. I don't know if you know who Lobo is.
Lobo, I feel like oh God.
He's a bounty hunter from space.
Were they going to possibly make a Lobo movie? Was that in discussion?
It was in discussions a while ago, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he was kind of like DC's response to Wolverine, kind of like the anti-hero thing.
Yeah.
He's a bounty hunter from space who looks like basically he's like a buff KISS member.
Isn't Aquaman like high and mighty? I'm Aquaman.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
isn't that
he's Thor but underwater.
Right.
That's him. So So they completely changed the character. Now that's not a fair gripe of the movie, because if the movie
it doesn't matter, right? You can change the character.
But it is annoying when I'm watching it. I'm like, no Aquaman fan ever thought of this as their Aquaman for their first live action Aquaman movie.
That is, it's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. There's kind of a fetch quest in this.
Yes.
Story-wise, that's
Yeah.
just like, okay, this is dumb.
It's padding the runtime.
The music in this is bizarre.
There's
like,
some 80s synth in
yeah,
it.
and that's the best music in the movie, but
Yep.
it doesn't go with anything
No,
that's happening
no.
in the scenes that it's played in.
I think this is going to be looked at as very much a movie of the moment. It's a very reactionary movie. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be more like Marvel, so here's all the colors. We have to be more like Marvel, so here's all the humor. 80s synth is big. Here's some 80s synth. It's just everything.
It's such a poor attempt at being a Marvel movie.
It is.
Like they did it better with the tone. Oh God, don't strike me down. They did it better with the tone in Justice League, I thought. Like, honest to God, like there were moments. I can't easily.
I can't agree with that statement.
Superman's like moments in Justice League were better than this. Like the scene where the Flash like realizes Superman can keep up with him was better than anything in this movie.
As I guess as far as like character interaction bits, it was
Right.
But like visually, that was
Visually it was ugly.
It was such an
No,
ugly
I agree
movie.
I agree with that. This was probably
I just had a hard time.
it was a good
watching.
you know what? Positive.
Yeah.
It did look cool.
It is one of the cooler looking movies this year, I think.
It was cool looking. I thought it like the underwater city stuff, Atlantis, like the other, they take you to a couple other places.
Though, if I'm honest, Atlantis was a little like Tron, but underwater.
Right.
And
I thought it was cool.
I mean, it looked nice, but it was like, okay, well, you really went kind of basic on this, if I'm honest. Like,
They could have done some cooler shit. They could have done like a medieval look or like,
yeah. I mean,
But I thought it looked good. I didn't have any problem with how it looked.
Right. I mean, that is the best thing about it.
But no, I'm like, and it's a better movie than Justice League. Don't get me wrong.
It is.
It's better just because it has like a coherent plot that you
Yeah.
can follow. But I'm sorry, I just don't like. The only thing you have to hang on to here is Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Yeah.
It just didn't work for me. It was boring. I don't find these scenes funny.
And all of that bleeds into it's one of those things where I realized that like the most important part of a movie is the beginning of the movie, because that's what hooks you.
And if it's bad immediately.
Yes.
Yeah, you start with a poor taste in your mouth. But I was thinking like, okay, it's going to get better.
Yeah, I was like,
it must get better. People
right.
are liking
And
this.
I
There's
actually-
got to be something.
And in all honesty, I actually thought that it did get a little bit better. I felt like the beginning was awful.
I thought the whole thing was terrible.
I mean, I'm comparing shades of gray, or not gray. I
Styles of shit.
guess styles of shit.
Yeah, it started as full diarrhea. And
Yeah.
then it gradually your stomach settled down a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I still had to run to the bathroom, but it wasn't painful.
But yeah, I mean, anything else?
Yeah, the action scenes. I mean, just talk about, the beginning of the movie and the characters and all that being bad. It bleeds into the action to the point where there's a lot of long takes in the action scenes that feel completely pointless.
See, I thought the way the action filmed was pretty nice.
But there's no tension to any of those
That's
scenes.
true. Well, that's
Like, it looks nice, but
God. I really don't want to shit on James Wan for this.
that's the worst part.
But I don't like. This is one of those moments where it's like in these it's basically an animated movie.
Yeah.
I mean, or 70% of it is.
Yes.
And then the other parts of the movie are just like two people standing there having a fucking conversation.
Yep.
Nothing like it's all boring exposition. I mean, I know that the guy's good, so it's like annoying to watch this. Like
Would you
you're
say-
not. It's not a camera moving around a fucking set. It's
Right.
like I think of his Conjuring movies.
Yes.
And the way he has like the sets built for the different haunted houses or whatever the fuck he's filming in, and the way he uses the camera to like you almost want to lean over and see what's in
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like.
There's none of that here.
No, nothing
Because
like
everything's
that.
just open and giant and CGI, and we spend all this time in all these different sets. We just don't care because we're just constantly going from place to place to place to place. You're never grounded.
No, you're not. You're never grounded in this.
Would you say that this was a sea of exposition?
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh.
Because we did say it was awfully choppy earlier. Would you say the waves were choppy?
Ooh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I would. I'd say the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like the Titanic going
Yeah,
down.
yeah. Except,
Hey, you know what would have been cool is if they were like fighting by the Titanic or something, like, you know.
wow, you just came off that. That's just off the cuff right there.
Yeah.
Better than anything.
Well,
in
it's funny
this.
because it would be like a really cheap way to get people like, oh, it's the Titanic.
Wow, did you see
But
that?
it's like I never had a moment like that in the whole movie where I was like, oh, dude.
Could have made a joke about like Rose and like, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh,
could've made-
I found the heart of the ocean.
Where were
It's
Where
a
were
shared universe.
there's literally a woman that has red hair that comes from the sea, and there were no Little Mermaid jokes. I know it's easy.
Rose has red hair too.
That's true.
I mean,
Well, she did before she got old.
That's true. Good point. Yeah, but no, you're right. No Little Mermaid comments, even though you have a blatant like Little Mermaid ripoff for your main love interest.
Yes. It's just a poor. What would you give it for a grade?
A D or D plus, maybe. It's
Oh,
not
really?
It's not like the worst thing. It's a D.
I was thinking. I see when you said D plus, I was like, whoa.
You think
really?
that's too high?
It's definitely a D.
It's in the D's zone.
It might be a D minus for me.
Ooh.
Like,
see, I don't know if I can give it. Oh God, it was bad.
It was really bad. Like frustratingly bad because for me, like this could have been salvaged because a lot of this falls on the writing.
No, it's all the writing. If you were watching a good movie in that world, like
Yeah.
in that underwater shit, like the movie doesn't get in. Like to me, when they went underwater, I'm like, oh, this is when it's going to get good. It's going to get
Yep.
into like the politics of Atlantis and
Yep.
you know whatever. You're going to have like the boardroom meetings with the bad guys and shit.
Yeah.
They don't really do that at all. It's just all surface level. Like I'm pissed because my brother is bigger or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's like the fucking
Yeah.
yeah.
It is. It's awful. It's just awful. I mean but that's why it pisses me off so much is like all it takes is like somebody with critical thinking skills to look at this script and be like, no, this fucking sucks. Change this. There's so many things in a single read that a normal person would get.
This movie does everything the easy way. It boils it down to a fetch quest for an item that turns the hero into.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal, is to get the item that makes it so there's no like tension.
Yeah.
It's awful.
It's get the thing that makes the narrator go finish him.
It's the Excalibur story without any of like the neat like character differences and all like the Knights of the Round Table
Right.
type shit. Like that's what I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, how the fuck did you not do anything like that? You've got Meathead A and Meathead B.
Yep.
That's the movie. They don't like each other.
It's everything that you've ever heard, you know, those snobby critics talk about, you know, superhero movies. It's everything that they talk about.
Yeah, you're right.
It makes me feel like an asshole because like these movies are supposed to be for me, and this was awful. So yeah, this is a D minus for me.
Well, yeah, I'll stick with a D.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode. And if you want to hear more detailed analysis of why we hated this movie, tune in next week.
Yep. And don't go see it.
Don't see it.
Can
Can we let DC just fucking crash and burn?
give the rights to Marvel?